material.
Okay, we are live.
Put it up on the.
We are live. Let's see if people are going to wait for people to join.
This time?
Yeah, Facebook is working. I don't think the email worked.
Hello. Alright. We are live on Instagram. Goat Woodark is in. Mr. B Provost has joined. Ramirez. Oh, Bits and Bits. Derek, we got your 3D reservation, so you're all set on that. Congratulations. Joe FRTX has joined. What's going on? Epic 33, Ripped Grain. That has joined. What's happening?
Okay, so on today's episode, we will be talking about pricing out your projects. Some things to think about when someone asks you for a custom order. We get asked a lot, how much should I charge? How much does it cost? So we kind of go over our thought process on things like that, and maybe what you can pay attention to when you're quoting somebody. So without further ado, we could get started. Well, one of the first things when we get an inquiry really is like, okay, so do they have a design made, or do they need us to make a design? So that's a pretty big difference between what goes on afterwards. If they have something made, they have an idea of what they want already. They either have maybe their logo, or they say I want a certain text. They have a general idea of what they're trying to do. Then you can kind of get their file, get their logo, and then just get the sizing, material, just the overall layout of the project first. Then we usually will tell them, like, send me all the details, get as much details as you can, all those things, size, material, design, thickness, time frame, when do they need it by, that sort of thing. Then you kind of will look at material cost. Like, if you have the material, some people will say, I'll give you a piece of whatever material and just make it. If not, then you have to source the material yourself, and sometimes the materials, they don't come to the size, so you usually have to end up buying more of whatever they need. But if you're going to run a business, then that's kind of the downside or upside, you could say, because you could save the extra pieces for another project that comes up, and then you'll have them in stock. So we usually like to, let's say they're only using half of the material, then we would just account for half. Like, it's just to be fair, instead of charging them for the whole entire thing, unless it's a very special, unique thing that you're only going to use once. So those are the kind of the preliminary steps that we would take. Then we would look at the time, like design time, because that's a big portion of it, is design time. Just on the computer, importing their things over, and messing around, making sure all the vectors are correct, and making sure the CNC can actually do the details that they need. So you would kind of estimate your design time, and this will come easier as you do more designs and get more familiar. But I would put an hourly rate on everything. So it's like, how much do you want to make per hour? Is it $50? Is it 20? Is it 80? Is it 90? Like, if you're highly skilled, you're really good at designing, maybe you could charge more. Maybe you're just starting out and you're not familiar with the software, then you're probably going to take longer So maybe you just charge less as you're learning. So I mean, I always like to think like a car mechanic in New York, they charge like $100 to 80 to 100 an hour, and they have a special skill, right? So if you think you have a special skill, then you charge accordingly for the time that it takes to design. And then the next thing is cutting time, setup time, finishing time. So it all really comes down to how long it's gonna take. Machining time, maybe you're not gonna charge machining time $90 an hour for machining time, because technically you're just setting it up and you're letting it run. You have to supervise it. So usually we'll use a lower rate for that, like machine time. Maybe it's half of the design time, or a quarter of the design time, just to be fair. Everything's different in your market, your customers. Design time, cut time, setting up too is like, if you have multiple pieces, then you gotta take the piece off, put on a new piece, reset it up. That also takes time. So you have to estimate how long that's gonna take you to do. Then it's finishing, if they need sanding, painting, assembly, all that stuff. So you would pretty much sit down and kind of break it down how long it would take you. Let's say if it takes me, like, the whole process takes 5 hours. So it's like, how much do you want to get paid for 5 hours? How much free time do you want to offer to this person or this company? Is it a friend? Is it a family? Is it a business? So all those things will come into consideration. If you're making it for the friend, then maybe you're not going to charge them as much, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so that's kind of the things we generally look for. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
And another thing to take into consideration when we're talking about CNC and machining is the fact that not everything's going to go to planned per your cut. So you always also have to plan for, in case, what if your material does get messed up during the cut. Just even when it comes to 3D printing and CNC, they both have their benefits, but they also have their setbacks, right? With CNC, it's like the temperature. Sometimes if it's too hot, your plastic will melt on the 3D printer. But when it comes to CNC, sometimes the material and your feeds are a little too aggressive. Maybe you break a bit. So you have to account for those type of situations. So when you're planning for the material costs have gone up across the board right now in today's economy. Like, think about your fuel. How much does your price per gallon cost right now in your local economy? I saw Tony in there put in, how much is everyone's wood cost right now? I mean, for myself, we're trying to do some renovations on our family home, and construction labor costs are through the roof. So that's where I would start, aside from just figuring out what you value your time as. The design time is kind of adjustable. You can also take some time there, because that's rather fast, but it does take you a while to sit there, think of the design, put that through the software, and then map it out. The cut time, you have some more wiggle room to kind of adjust that. But the biggest thing that I think a lot of our maker friends out here, I see there's a lot of like different segments of the market. We have our computer DIY builders in here, so it'd be great to know like what their pricing and the way they put together their cost structure is. But when it comes to building out projects, I think for me it's, what do you value your time as? And I typically like to stay within 30 to 35% of my margin. So once you factor in your cost of the price of the sheet, let's say if you're working with plywood, you take what you're paying there, cut that down, and then you add in what Fu mentioned earlier. You add in your time as far as what your design and prep. And then the hardest part, especially when you're doing the custom wood projects, if we're talking about like for the hobby side hustle guys, I think is the finishing. For me at least, the finishing, because if you want to hand paint it, if you want to add the epoxy, there's also the time you have to let it dry, and sometimes the finish doesn't come out to what you imagine, so you have to work around that. So there's a lot of different variables that come into play. So for me, my time is, okay, I set 35% margins, and I can always dial back and give away my software design time. But the hardest thing for me is always the finishing. Like if you're gonna spray paint something, sometimes the spray can will squirt out differently and it leaks onto different portions, so you have to adjust. So is that something you want to charge your customer for, or is that something you plan for ahead of time? Things to consider.
I think it's more like active labor versus if you're not really like if you're just letting something dry
Yeah.
for overnight.
Yeah.
That's you're not really doing anything. So it's like activity versus waiting time. And I think it'll be good if you guys could put it into a spreadsheet and break it down by categories, like the material, what it is, what my hourly rate, for design, and then you can kind of build this sheet out. So every new project that comes in, you could kind of just plug in the numbers, and that way you kind of have a rough estimate for the person, and then you can kind of be like, oh, it'll be around this range, but as I get into it more, I can confirm the final price, or you just like overestimate it in the beginning and you just stick to the price.
Yeah, for your stock material, it's definitely helpful to go from like price per square inch and calculate from there off of what you got that price per square foot was on the larger piece of material. That's how we do it, and we have like an Excel sheet. It's kind of calculator that we use when we were actively selling on Etsy, things like that. But the greatest thing is, I think, with the CNC, because it is automated, there's a lot of extra time for you to work on other projects simultaneously. And a lot of customers who are working with their hands and doing hard labor, this allows other people to, like older folk who maybe hurt their back, to get in and still be able to work on their side hustle. So that's another benefit of the CNC that you can do there. Joel, what about you? Like, do you have anything you want to add to that?
One of the things I was also, I had to agree with what your statement was, is just accountability. Not all projects always come out successful. Usually you have to also account for, like you were mentioning, the finishing time. Something could always go wrong. I'd say even machining, if a part breaks. So that's why you would have to also buy more excessive material for yourself as well. So yeah. It's not just gonna be like if they say 12 by 12 that you buy a 12 by 12. You have much more of a leeway, so that way you have more material in case there is a mistake.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like, what do you see your worth and your projects are? What do you think when you put in all that time and effort into something, designing and making something, and then a potential customer comes and tells you it's too expensive? Don't you hate that? I hate that. Every time you put something out there, you know what it's worth, you know the cost, you know the amount of effort you put into it, and they tell you, oh, it's too expensive. Well, the next question is, why do you think that? What are you comparing it to? So that comes out to not just the project you're making, but also your tools that you're using, right? Even when you go to any restaurant, you're not going to try and compare like what you ate at the local Chinese food, like a Panda Express, to something that's more high end, right? It depends on what you're paying for. And a lot of times when people ask, like, tell me, oh, the price is too high, I'm like, okay, why do you think that is? Well, that alludes to a lot of our machines and our equipment too, right? The price is high. We set it that way because of the amazing customer service you get from us, the support, the timeliness of how fast you could get the product, the limited production behind it, and also the materials, the equipment that you're putting, the materials you put into the equipment is the number one factor of what you're going to save on your investment and initially make that return. Because the more time you put into committing into a cheap project, in this example, or even a CNC or whatever product you're selling, that's time sunk and you're never going to get that back. You might as well do it right the first time. Work with someone that you know, work with someone that you trust. Get that product, know it's going to be reliable, and it's going to be repetitive and last you a while. And when your projects that you sell to these people, what does it make them feel, right? If that makes you feel like $1 million, guarantee you they're going to want to pay more for it. You're not going to try and sell something from Walmart and say, okay, this is worth $100, right? But that's the idea behind it. You're paying for quality, and you know the time you put into it, and you know what your value is. So put that into your pricing and let it be known. Let that message be known to whoever your potential buyer is.
Time is money.
Time is always money.
You gotta make it worth your time, make it worth your while. How much, like, just charge what you're willing to get paid. Like, if it's not even worth it, then it's not really worth doing the project, right? Like, it's gotta pay for something in your life.
Yeah.
You don't, but try to be fair, and that's kind of how we do it. I mean, we have a lot of customers that do this type for hobby and just for side hustle, making stuff. So we figured this will be helpful to you guys, and if you guys have any questions, or if you're you need help with it, or you just need some advice after you watch this replay later on, feel free to just message us, email, or you could just leave a comment and we'll respond. We're always willing to help our fellow CNC people, so feel free to reach out.
Yeah, if you're interested in that Excel document that we use personally, or the one we used to use when we were making our projects on the side and selling them, put your email in. If you're on Instagram, DM us your email and just let us know. Project cost sheet, we'll get that out to you as a template, and you can get started. Even if you're on YouTube, Facebook, email us, sales@i2rcnc.com. We'll go ahead and get that template out to you. And on top of that, we did have a flash deal going on for the next 24 hours. So if you could put it into the chat, bundle, let me know you're interested, and we can give you added savings on the stand of the B series. Also, we have some new other inventory that's going to be coming through. So we have the A series, so we wanted to talk to you guys a little more about the A series, what the difference is between that and the B. The biggest part on that is you're still going to get precision and accuracy. You're still getting 0.001 inch of repeatability and accuracy, and you're still getting all the ball screws and the full support of our team. But the great thing about that now is we've added the 3 horsepower half-inch tooling on there, and because it's a liquid cooled spindle, it's much quieter. You're going to be able to cut a lot more aggressively, a lot faster, and you're not going to have to worry about trying to calculate and waste time on your roughing passes. If you're doing like 3D, you save a lot of time there. We can also walk you through like the UC-CNC interface on our virtual tech calls with Joel here. He's usually the one who talks about all the tech, right?
Yeah.
So if you get in on the bundles, get in on our pre-orders right now, you'll have a lot of FaceTime with Joel doing the one-on-one, and he's gonna show you all the CAD, all the CAM, and if you have any questions on top of how do you create a tool path, how do you go from idea to putting that and implementing it into the CNC, he's the guy to talk to. Joel, what do you like about the A series versus the B series, for example?
For instance, they were mentioning that has the fastest assembly time, so you don't have to work too much with trying to assemble it in the beginning. Usually it will take like 20 or 10 minutes. This one's going to be much faster because it's already fully assembled.
Yeah, so the difference between the B series and the A series is the B series is already I consider that like the Humvee or the pickup truck, right? It's reliable, it's sturdy. You could have a gorilla jump on it and try to tear it apart, and it'll still work. But the neatest thing is you're talking about the weight considerations. So the B series, if you put everything together, it's roughly like 275 pounds. On the A series, if you add everything, you're close to 500, depending on which size. That's like the median weight and the stand. But the biggest thing is when it comes to the B series, you still have to sort of attach the spindle onto the gantry, and then you raise the gantry, and then you install it. That process itself maybe takes like 10 minutes right now.
Yeah.
But the A series is more about our professional middle tier lineup, and that one comes fully ready to go. You get it fresh out the box. The only thing you're really assembling is the stand, and the stand itself is extremely sturdy. It's steel. It's got casters. It's still also going to have the laptop arm holder. It's also open bottom design concept, and that one is really gonna be your breadwinner if you're looking to upgrade from your smaller systems. We have a lot of customers that have had the machine that started with us with a 1 horsepower spindle, and then now they're ready to upgrade, and this is gonna triple their performance and triple the speed of their production. They're literally going from 1 horsepower to 3 horsepower, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. So think of all the possibilities of how much you can increase your production with that. Fu, do you have anything to input on what you like about the A?
I mean, the A is just basically the B on steroids. It's robust. It's beefed up on the gantries, the underframe, steel bar, thick steel bar right on the bottom of the frame. So it's gonna give you a lot more rigidity, reliability. So if you're just looking for that little extra edge, and you don't mind shelling out the extra investment in the beginning, it's a really good machine. We've sold basically thousands of units throughout the last couple of years all over the world. So it's a very proven machine, and it's been improved over and over again. Upgrades have been made over time. So it really it's a new model for us, but really it's a model that's been around and it's been tweaked and it's been fine-tuned. So you're gonna get a really reliable product at the end of the day. So definitely, stay tuned for that. When we roll that out, that's probably gonna be in July, maybe end of June. We'll have that in house. So we'll be showing more of that, and if anyone's interested in pre-ordering, we're already offering $500 off right now to get a pre-order in to lock in your first batch of machines, which will come in end of June to early July. So if anyone's interested, just send us a DM about the A, and we'll hook you up. So it's gonna be a great machine. We also have the W coming out, and that is a new model, a new machine. And that's a versatile machine, much wider on the X gantry, so it allows you to push through tiling wise, 4-foot wide sheet. So kind of a different animal, different use, but that's also going to be a great product. So look forward to that. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And I see Art just joined in here on Instagram. Look forward to our session tomorrow. Welcome, Art. He's one of our new guys that we just talked to. So if you have any input or any information that you need, just put it in the chat here. Send us your email, whatever it is, we'll reach out to you. But by the end of the 24 hours, this flash sale on savings on that stand for the bundle for the B series is going to be over. So that's only valid, and if you are on this chat, let me know in the DM. You could reference chat, and I will hook you up and load you on the bundles. I know I've already got 3 DMs about that deal, and we are here to get you the most bang for your buck and the best performance. So we're super excited. Let me get with you directly, and we'll get you machining and CNCing your future.
All right, guys. Anything else you want to add? Make sure to, if you're watching this at a later day on YouTube or just a replay on Instagram, if you have questions, just remember to hit us up, DM, or just shoot us an email. Check out our website.
Yep. And then one last plug, the 3D printers. We've only got, I think, 5 or 4 spots left on that $900 off for $105 down for the 3D printer. And then if you want that project cost sheet, the calculator, email us. We'll get that to you. No charge at all. And also save on the bundles. All right. We'll see you next time on Shoot the Chips.
See ya.
See you guys.